G'day everyone, it's that time of year again, the final Tuesday Night Live for 2021. Very sad, but what a fantastic interview we've got to finish off the season, plus a bit of a wrap up of the season and looking forward. It'll be short, sharp and shiny, but well worth it. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Welcome to our final Tuesday Night Live for 2021. Fashionably late, as we like to be. There's usually something going on. It was probably the quickest setup of a podcast slash live stream I've done, and in my haste, I haven't even turned on Spreaker, so let me just redo that introduction. Welcome everyone to the final 2021 edition of Tuesday Night Live. Joining me, of course, as usual, Peter J. How you going, Peter?
Really well, mate. How are you? A bit of a
Shit,
big
yeah,
afternoon.
Bloody loud, mate. Yeah,
Sorry.
good. It was a big. You've been on the run.
Loud and proud. Yeah. No, it was a good afternoon, wasn't it?
It was a very good afternoon. For those not aware, we were invited, along with a couple of the other podcasts, down to Crow's Heartland to have a chat with Tim Silvers. He was very forthcoming, very open, and it was very valuable, and he gave us some exclusive time at the end just to ask a few questions. So never mind. Hopefully all is good with the stream and audio. If there's any dramas with the audio stream, just let me know. As I said, I got this together in about 2.8 seconds, so don't hate me. Look, thanks to everyone who's joined us on Discord and on YouTube, of course. And again, as usual, all those who support us on Patreon. Peter, what do you reckon? What do you reckon we start off with said interview, hey?
Yes. Yep. Smash straight into it.
I think we just smash straight into it. Right, thanks, Tim, for coming onto the Crowcast. Always appreciate people from the Crows coming on board, and we've had a bit of a chat this afternoon, which has been really helpful. Right, thanks, Tim, for coming onto the Crowcast. Always appreciate people from the Crows coming on board, and we've had a bit of a chat this afternoon, which has been really helpful. See, and that's what happens when you I guess I'll start off by asking, you've come from a period at Hawthorn where they probably developed into a powerhouse, and now you've come into the... Pete, you talk about this afternoon, and I'll get this little audio sorted.
Sure thing. Well, I thought that there was some really interesting stuff, but I think that just as a general overview for the listeners and for us, it was great to have been invited down there, and it was actually on Tim Silver's request. He is a very cognizant of social media platforms and fan platforms that surround the club, and he was keen to engage, and importantly, he was keen to be on board and to assist wherever he could. Now, what that actually meant as the discussions proceeded is that there was a genuine sort of understanding and goodwill to try and help out with players and player interviews and official interviews, assistant coaching interviews, and that kind of thing. And so, J-Mac, the comparison was chalk and cheese, and it's really, I think that it's best described as just putting it as that Tim Silvers is just a footy person, and it it actually just felt like we were sitting down at a pub just talking about footy, and he was really forthcoming. He was great because he's on list management committee, and so he talked to us a lot about the draft and a lot about the players and how he saw the young talent from this year. And But his focus is very much the football club, and his focus is very much getting us to um, our own home. He's really, really big on getting that set up. And not necessarily from the point of view of a post match, but just a place that members can go, and whether that be going down there for a meal and watching training, or something like that. He's just incredibly um, uh, uh, focused on that. So that's a really, really good thing.
All
And
right.
yes, PJ, there was muffins.
There was muffins. They were smaller, but more of them.
And most importantly, there was Fluorio iced coffee. So that's what I was happy with.
All right, we got this sorted now, so let's kick into it.
That's right.
Right, thanks, Tim, for coming onto the Crowcast. Always appreciate people from the Crows coming on board, and we've had a bit of a chat this afternoon, which has been really helpful. I guess I'll start off by asking, you've come from a period at Hawthorn where they probably developed into a powerhouse, and now you've come into the Crows at a stage where we're probably refreshing. Do you see many similarities?
Well, look, I do. I came into the Crows and we were going through a similar reset. There's been some major changes, that being a change of senior coach, a new head of footy, a new chair, and then I was probably the fourth pillar to come through as the CEO. And that's what happened, I suppose, at Hawthorn when I first started. And I saw them make some bold decisions with their list at that time, and have some veterans moved on and then go to the draft. And we've seen that over the last couple of years. And I think our challenge now is that we've committed to this strategy. We're going through a rebuild. We have to get on the journey and develop our young players, and we've got some talent. We've just got to get them to be elite AFL talent now.
Yep. And you've got a bit going on apart from just rebuilding a list at the club. We've got the venue. We've got COVID. A challenging time for. Am I right in saying first-time CEO?
Yes.
Yeah, and also you're dealing with staff, a reduction in staff as well. How have you been able to cope with the challenges of all of that in a new state, relocating your family?
Look, it's had some challenges. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I love the challenge and I love the industry, and I've actually fallen in love with the club straight away. So there hasn't been any issues with that. There's major challenges with the COVID interruptions, the staff reductions, just challenges in this market. I probably underestimated the focus of the media in this market, but it can be used for good. So I feel like there's some real positives in it. But it's just about me managing my time as well as I can, getting the right people in the right positions, and building a culture that will create success. And I think we're on our way. We've got a fantastic coach in Matthew Nix that's building a successful culture. I just now have to support him in the best way I can, and bringing in people like Darren Burgess from successful programs will hopefully help him to deliver on that.
Yep. And just on Darren, how difficult was it to get Darren out of Melbourne? There was talk last year that he might come across. He comes from a very successful background, obviously, with exposure down the road as well. Was that a fait accompli, or was that a real labour?
I think with Darren is that he had moved around to a number of clubs and he'd been in successful programs all across the world. So he's a talent regarded as the best in the industry. So we had a genuine interest in him last year, and we had another shot at him this year. However, he was still in contract, which can be a major hurdle. But he had some personal situation that was sort of probably in our favour, where he's got his kids living over here. He's two young kids, and he wanted to get greater access to them and hasn't been able to with border restrictions. So we were able to talk to him, get a deal done, work it through with Melbourne, because his focus was to get back to Adelaide. And what also helped is that he has a strong relationship with Matthew Nix. He'd been with Matthew Nix at Port for a number of years, and they even had a throwaway conversation, I think 6 or 7 years ago, that Nixie said if he was going to be senior coach, he wanted Darren as his head of fitness, and we've been able to bring that to fruition.
There you go. Probably not a lot of people made that connection. I didn't until you just said it.
Yeah, so they worked together for a long time, and he, from the day I walked in the door, he did say he's the best in the game, and if we can get him, let's go for it. And a few things probably went our way, but he's going to be a very important element of our club.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest factors over the last 12 months or 24 months has been COVID, and we've had the situation with Denny in the women's competition. Bit of stuff going around at the moment in the papers with regards to a board member, etc., etc. How difficult has it been for the club to manage all of that and still keep the eye on the ball in terms of football?
No doubt there's challenges in footy in this game. There seems to be spanners thrown left, right and centre, and this is just another one. And in the COVID times where we've got restricted capacities, you don't know where you're going to play on a Thursday before a Saturday or a Sunday game, we've just needed to be flexible and agile. And this is just another instance that there's a change of goalposts here. To get into the Adelaide Oval, you need to be vaccinated. So we're asking all our members and our fans to be vaccinated. We think and we support the policy of the AFL that, for the health and safety of the community, we ask that all our people are vaccinated. And look, and I respect freedom of choice. But Danny has made the decision, which she has, and I support her in that she can make that decision. But unfortunately, it means that she can no longer be part of the club. So she is a wonderful player for a long period of time, a foundation player, two-time premiership player. But now she is not part of our club. We need to sort of reset and look at bringing on another player onto our list. That's the harsh reality of the situation we're in. We can look back on it a little bit, but we've got to move forward, which is the harsh reality.
Yeah. So I gather all our draftees and recruits for this year are all double backs or in the process of being.
Yep. So all expectations for all draftees to nominate, they needed to be double back. At least one vaccination, and I think the second vaccination date is upcoming.
Yeah.
So they all had to make that commitment, which is, like I said before, it's the reality of Adelaide Oval, and it's going to be the reality of all stadiums, I think.
Speaking of the stadium, how difficult is it to project revenue and trying to nail some future targets when things are so up in the air? If you have scenario A, B and C in terms of your revenue models?
We do, and we have to, because we can't overcommit in our spend, just in case there's risks on crowds and membership in the upcoming year. But our members and our commercial partners have stuck by us for 2 years, and we've been incredibly thankful, and it's set us up to have a pretty reasonable business model. And I want to grow the club because we've lost so many staff, but we are just going to see how the first part of next year goes. And as we develop and hopefully we come out of COVID and we get crowds back and revenues increase, that we'll be able to build up our staff base.
Is the moving target with revenue, is that having any impact at all on the potential bids for the various venues that we're looking for in terms of our home base?
In some ways, a little, but in others, it's not. It's the focus for a new base is that we want to be a destination club. We want to be at a new facility that houses both our men's and women's and SANFL team. So it's revenue is a component. We need to get through the next little while, but we're also really focused, and it's a priority of ours to find a new elite training and admin facility that's not only for our players and staff, but it's for our members, fans and supporters to congregate at.
Yep. So we were talking before this interview, you're part of the list management committee. Were you in the room the other day?
I was. It was a great experience. And
was that your first time on draft night? Or?
I've been to a few, but not in recent years. So I haven't been part of live trading, which throws another element to it. However, and our list management team, I've got to give them credit. They were very innovative in their thoughts, and they had a heap of different plans, and it was their grand final on if this player is on the board, and we're at pick 36 as an example, that we had strategies. And I think over the last couple of years, I've seen us be very innovative in that space. And I think we had a really good result. If you had have said the 3 players that we got with our picks, that we'd able to walk out on sort of Thursday night with that sort of success, we were really happy.
Yeah. Okay. Could you tell the supporters, yes or no, are we genuinely aiming for finals in 2022?
I don't want to put a number on it. I don't want to put pressure on ourselves. But what I want to say is that we are striving for continual improvement on the field. You'll see we're going to give opportunities to a lot of our kids, going to play them in position, out of position, but we want to play a brand of footy that stacks up in finals. And you'll see a competitive nature. You know, we had some ups and downs last year, but I think overall, apart from 2 games, we were competitive. We showed this spirit. We showed buy-in. And we need to continue to show that, but we need to get better as a group and develop our players. They're elite talent, but they need to be elite AFL talent. And we've got the right coaches to develop them, and you'll see improvement on the field next year.
I'm sorry, I have to ask this question. There's a lot of people around that might be stuck on the club changing the logo sometime soon. Thoughts?
We had a bit of a discussion about this off air. I must admit, in my 9 months, it hasn't been a priority. However, I am starting to feel a lot of feedback over especially the last 6 weeks. And, my focus is on finding a new home and a new facility. However, I've got to take on all parts of feedback, and it is something that I'll review over time. And if we are to relocate into the future, which I'm hopeful that we will do in the next 2 years, that might be a start of a new era that could be timely with a new logo.
Just on supporter sentiment, you came to the club at a time when there was probably a bit of negativity around the club. Have you been conscious of the turnaround in the public's attitude or the Crow supporters' general attitude, and does that give you confidence about the direction that the club's heading?
Look, we are getting some really positive feedback, which I think is great. And sometimes I reflect and I think, is this just a halo effect of me coming in with a different focus and a different strategic priority? But I can't get too caught up in that. I just need to stand for what I believe in. I want to be open and transparent. I've got a different priority with how we're going to connect to our past and a football-first focus. So I'm going to deliver that. I'm going to deliver that with the support of the Adelaide Crows and the executive team, which I think are some really good operators there. And, the success will be in the pudding. But I feel a positive sentiment at the moment. So we feel like we're doing some of the right things, but we'll continue to get better.
And last one, Tim, and thanks very much for your time. We've heard about successful Sydney teams having the Bloods culture, and you've been part of a very successful era at Hawthorn. If you had to put a little motto or, mission statement or something around where the Crows are at the moment, what would that be?
That's a good question. One of the values that we're focusing on field and off field is around prioritising others. So it's not about any individuals here, it's about a team. And it's more than just a team, we're a club. We're 3 teams and 1 club. So we're all in it together. We need to support each other. And if we support each other well and we're striving for elite success, then I think if we've got the right people, we'll deliver that outcome. And that's what we're striving to do.
Tim, thanks for prioritising us today. And wish you all the very best. Thanks very much.
Appreciate your time.
So there you go. That was Mr. Silvers. A very forthright, open conversation was had around the table, and similarly in his interview with us, which we're very, very grateful for. He answered openly, honestly, and I don't think as an Adelaide supporter, any supporter could be dissatisfied with that, Peter.
Oh, no, and Razor, well picked up. It was a good interview. Well done, Fane. I sat in the background. I just bowed to the master there to allow you to take that one over. But I think one-on-one's better in that kind of environment. They were great questions, and he's just a really, he's an impressive guy because he's just a pure football person, and his focus, and he just talking to him. He talked us through a little bit about the South Australian class of draftees and his views on them and things like that. And he just sounded like a real football person, didn't he? He just had some great football knowledge.
Well, it's interesting. You and I have sat down with Andrew Fagan in the past, and this is certainly no disrespect to Andrew because he had many strengths. but the tone was completely different. Andrew was very focused on numbers and commercial gains and revenue and all the things that a CEO should be concerned with. You got the impression that Tim was similarly focused, but from a completely different context, from a completely different angle. So, very focused on fan engagement, very focused on being open. The talk around the potential venue there was a clear eye to engaging the membership and the fans in that outcome. Just a completely different tone, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a very, as I said, just a real footy person sitting at the pub, having a talk about footy. And I think like I said at the outset, what augurs well for our fans is, as I mentioned to him in the talk, is that and it's same for the other two podcasts that were there, is that if you've got that level of engagement and input, it's critical from the point of view of the listeners. Well, are you a credible podcast?
Yeah.
And if you are able to, if you're connected with the club in that way, and you've got a bit of respect from the club, and they will supply us with good interviews like that today, and also the one coming up shortly, and also a commitment to doing their best to give us some players and things next year. Well, then everybody benefits, don't they? And at the end of the day, it's the listeners, it's the fans, and that's what we're all striving for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's we had a bit of a laugh during the pre-interview conversation around the logo and all the rest of it, but there was a real sense of a refreshing the club and rebuilding, and there was just a lot of conversation around that, and it's hard to get a vibe when you're just sitting around the table with a couple of officials, but if you take all the messaging as a conglomerate over the course of the last 12 months, you add in the chat we had today, Peter, it feels like the club is returning to its membership base. It's returning to a football focus, and it has a steely determination to be successful. I'm not one to blow smoke up the club's arse, but that's my honest impression as I sit here tonight.
Yeah. Yep, there's no question about that. And it was interesting that it was Tim himself that drove that meeting. He wanted that meeting. He wanted that set up, and he wants to engage. And I think when we talked about how they can assist, and the commitment that we got to help us, and that we wanted to work with them. It's great. It's great because in the end, he just wants the fans to be engaged. And he did make mention about the fact that how do we deal with the fact that we don't have capacity anymore, and that some people can't get to games, and some people will in fact never ever go back to games. There are going to be people that won't go back, and so he wants to reach out, I guess, to and make sure that we scoop all those people up. So I think that whilst we're only a minor percentage, he's covering all of his bases.
Yeah. Look, we have to give a big shout out and thank you to Reese and what was that lady's name? Deary me, I'm going to get a rap over the knuckles over this, but Reese's colleague, who was more focused on the AFLW. Oh my goodness, how can I have forgotten her name? That's terrible. And Ian Shuttleworth as well. Reese has been my contact during the season at the Crows. It's been a pleasure to deal with. We've had substantial engagement with them, and the undertaking next year is that it's only going to get more. The club is very keen to engage with members on all platforms at all levels. They're very keenly aware that we have a broad scope. We have our international listeners, and to those we say hello, and just so positive. I mean, I don't think I've been so positive about the Crows for a long time, Peter. And I would say even before 2017, irrespective of the fact that we're in a grand final, the actual vibe around the club and the atmosphere around the club is great, and I look forward to us and all the other podcasts as well that cover the Crows having lots of input and engagement from the club.
Yeah, I made that point at the informal part of the meeting that I can't remember a time when there was so much genuine positivity out there amongst the fans. And we mentioned that the fan base at Crowcast is a fan base that will land here and have their say, and we're certainly not backward in coming forward when things were shit. And they accepted that. And but I said that, hand on my heart, honestly, I can't remember a time doing this cast when there's been so much positivity. And the people, I mean, he mentioned this concern about the fact that we've got rid of some veterans and things like that. Well, I'm just not hearing that. I'm not hearing that concern at all. I'm all I'm seeing and hearing is all in on the rebuild. We can see that it's being done. We can see it's being done properly.
Yep.
We've changed over all of the key pillars. We've turned over the list. We've gone for what we think is the best talent available, and it's just a case now of backing them in and seeing it unfold. And I mean, we saw Matthew Nixon where he came in just quite by accident when you were doing that, and I honestly thought that this was a genuine kind of look, just a really accidental, quick look. But geez, was he a jolly bloke, wouldn't he? Just laughing and energetic and he seemed like a real character.
I was pissed off that he was bloody putting me off my game, but anyway.
Trying to get him into the interview. But
yeah, well, wouldn't that have been a scoop?
But anyway, no. So we couldn't be. If you look at Olsen, where John Olsen has been, and Silver's now, and all the other guys there. We've got the good, Nick's. We've got the pillars in place, and I love the focus on getting the new home. And as he calls it, the destination. And I like the idea of the fact that it's not just like a shed where you go there after the game. It's a home for members to go to and have a meal and watch training or catch up with other like-minded people.
There are a couple of elements to that really impressed me. First of all, that element where they are keen to have a space where members can go. But the other thing was the focus on being a club that a player wants to play at. He talked about being destination club, and that term gets bandied around a lot. But it was really interesting to hear his correlation between the facilities that are provided and the willingness of players to want to come here and also to stay here. And if you remember back, 15, 20 years ago, our facilities down at Footy Park were considered, among the best. And they slowly, as other clubs caught up and took over, they slowly slipped down the rankings. And, it's unfortunate what's going on down there with the redevelopment and the squeeze that's been put on the club. Along with all the machinations, politically and between the Saka and the Samfel, etc., to get us to Adelaide Oval. It's really pleasing from my point of view that the club has that as part of its goal to actually be a club. Rather than think we're the Adelaide Footy Club, people should want to play for us. It's now we're the Adelaide Footy Club. How can we make ourselves somewhere where players want to play? It's a key difference in my view.
Yeah. And he mentioned Jordan Dawson, and he mentioned the fact that, he felt that, we did well to get him, and it was fortunate, but he mentioned that he really would have liked to have, he wants the club to be, to have that home, and that, that great facility, which attracts. Interestingly enough, actually, he mentioned some contact. He said that there were 2 or 3 contacts that got the deal over the line for Geordie Dawson. So I don't know who they were. Maybe it was Nick's. Maybe it was, who knows. But I think he was talking about generally approaching players off the cuff. And
Yep. No, really good. I don't think there are any other real key takeaways. Obviously, the club continues to work through the COVID situation, and Tim spoke about the pressures that puts on the club financially, but it feels like they've got a handle on that. And I just think it's an exciting time to be involved in following the club. So excellent all round, as Peter's just disappeared for a minute there. I'll try and get him back. Don't forget, we are live and interactive, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do want to come and have a say, this is your last opportunity for 2021 to have your dulcet tones broadcast on the Crowcast. So don't be shy. Peter, I've given you the hands up there. Don't be shy, people. If you want to have your say, even if it's just to say see you later, feel free. Come on, Pete. Where are you? There you are. Yeah. So look. Overall, as we draw this one to a close, and we won't drag this one out because most of you would have been around on Sunday night for the chat. I've given you. There you are, Peter. Are you back with me now? Oh, don't do this to me. Final podcast. Technical issues. Oh, shit. Yeah, look. G'day, buddy. Look, we have really enjoyed bringing this cast to you. The Tuesday Night Live was on hiatus for a while, and we brought it back initially with a bit of a focus on the South Australian draft class this year. And we couldn't have done that, and we couldn't have given you a bit of insight that we did without Peter's involvement. It was fantastic to have Peter back, and his current involvement at junior level just gave us a little bit more of an insight into how the South Australian boys were going. Peter, you've got the invite back in, mate. And hopefully people got some value out of that. We'll try to continue that next year in some way, shape or form, because I think people got some value out of it. Also, I know we've been promising this a little bit, but I just received the confirmation text about 2 seconds before we went live tonight that Hamish Ogilvie has made himself available to have a chat with me on Thursday morning. So I will get that together and hopefully have it published on the various platforms by the weekend. We'll have to wait and see. But yes, that's definitely happening. And again, a massive thank you to Reese down at the club for arranging that for us. We don't often get the big hitters on our little podcast, but having Hamish to go over the draft, and yes, there's been a lot of media, and Hamish has done a lot of media, but I'll try as hard as I can to mix it up a little bit and ask some questions that may not have been covered in the mainstream. I don't know, Peter, what you're doing. Drop a message in chat, mate. You're coming in, but we can't hear you. You're right, PJ Crows. Haggis will be a great interview. It's nothing like talking to the bloke at the pointy end when it comes to our recruiting and our drafting. We did get a bit of an insight from Tim about how we were feeling. Every club's going to say they got the players that they wanted, but they did try to get Jason, but it was never going to happen. But they were very, very happy with the players that they got. Interesting, a little bit of insight into the pre-season draft pick that we took, Nankervis. 13 games of football he's played, and he's gone from being a newbie 13 games ago to being on an AFL list. That's stunning. Pete, you might have to actually restart and come back in. So 13 games, he's gone from, I think it was Bentley Football Club or Bentley High School or Bentley something, to an AFL list. The club rates him highly. He's very raw, but he's got some tricks. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that young lad develops along with the other lads that we've drafted as well. I'll just give Peter a moment to see if he can reinstate himself. because it'd be a shame to finish up without saying goodbye to him. Drop a question in chat if you've got anything you'd like to talk about before we go. Peter, have I got you now? Like something's not plugged in, mate. Going on? What's going on? Oh dear. Yeah, so Haggis on the weekend, and that'll be it for us in terms of our live streams. I do plan to do some short videos over the course of the off season on YouTube. So if you're not already, subscribe to us on YouTube, and you'll see our little bits and pieces going there. Pete, you back?
Oh,
Whee!
my God. I've got no idea what happened there. That's just, talk about gremlins. That's really annoying. Anyway, sorry, go on.
What happened was it's our last show, and it wouldn't have been the same without a bit of a tech glitch.
No, that's right. Had to be a tech glitch.
Yeah, so I'm just wrapping up, Pete.
Yep, easy. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for coming back. But I was just saying, it's been great to have you on. Your insight into the juniors has been fantastic, and
thank you.
Good to have you back, and hopefully we'll be able to do Tuesday Night Live again next season.
Look, I've really thoroughly enjoyed being back and being able to be back on a Tuesday night. It's been a lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed it. Enjoyed being able to just sort of go through things in a pretty relaxed manner. And it's as I said, it's been a lot of fun. So I've appreciated the chance to come back on and chat about footy, which we all love.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I won't drag it on tonight. Thanks to everyone who's joined us on Discord. Thanks to everyone who's watched us and chatted with us on YouTube during the course of the season. Thanks to a big thank you to all the people that have supported us on Patreon. Yes, Razor and JMac, your mugs are coming and your stickers, damn it. But for now, for 2021, Peter, we're going to wrap it up, say goodnight, and wish everyone a safe and happy festive season. And we'll be back in the new year. Do it all again.
Thanks very much to all. Much appreciated. Thanks, Spain. Really appreciate it.
See you guys.
Cheers.